Hey Fee, nice of you to join us.
Hello, mate. You all right?
I'm good, I'm good. So it's been a little while since we
Yeah.
spoke, at least in this format. And wow, what a year it's been for Stand in the Park. Who would have known that nearly a year to the day where you would go with this and how it's almost, well, I'm sure it's transformed your life completely, but how it's just completely taken the UK by storm and now it's spreading out over into Europe and it's around the world entirely. And I even went to my hometown a couple of months ago. And I couldn't believe my eyes when I see a little square with "come to your local stand," and I was just like, "No way!
Brilliant.
That's amazing!" Just to see where it's come,
Everywhere.
it's everywhere. So how do you feel about all of that?
Wow, it's just amazing, really. I guess because I'm just constantly, you know what this is like. You're just working, aren't you? You kind of got your head down. You're just getting on with it because there's so much to do. Um, I kind of forget, just how big a thing it is, really. But yeah, when I do sort of put my head up, it's just like, wow, my God, it's awesome. It's great. It's everything. Well, I don't really know what I was expecting. Well, I wasn't really expecting anything when I started. It was just like, right, I just want to get this out there. I didn't really have like an end goal of
Yeah.
how many stands. It's just kind of done its thing. So yeah, I mean, it's brilliant. It's I couldn't have dreamt for anything better, really.
So how many stands are we in now? Are we at now? Do you know?
We're we're well over 700. Um, I've
Wow.
I've been saying for I don't know how long that I need to do a proper recount, but I'm just kind of going through them all now. There's so many; it's a mammoth task to count them all up. But it's probably in the UK, it's about 800,
So that's
I would
just in the
say.
UK. All right.
That's just in the UK, and then we've got obviously Australia's grown massively. I mean, that's where it all started. Um, but it kind of quietened down out there for a while because it seems like ages ago now, but restrictions were rolled right back, and it was really quite calm over their summer before, and then suddenly they went full on out there, and since then they've just been coming in and coming in and coming in, because people are standing up, thank goodness. So we've got
Yeah.
all of those ones out there. There's a few hundred there. We've got them in the States, across different countries in Europe. And we've even got them, South Africa, we've got them
Oh,
springing up,
wow.
random places, Iran. I'm in contact with someone there who wants to get going in Iran. Yeah, just some really random Costa Rica.
Uh-huh. It's amazing, and to think just
Yeah,
how
so
much
we're the
it's
words
like
getting out. Yeah.
it's just transformed the entire planet and just I wonder if obviously you've been a huge part of it, but Brady himself just because even he was standing in that park in Australia on his own, thinking
I
like, I'm
know.
gonna take over the world with this stuff. Madness.
Yeah, it's crazy. The thing, he was just standing there in his park thinking, am I totally insane here?
Yeah.
Because, I'm on my own. And like at that point, there were no t-shirts, none of that. It was literally his high vis vest and just him
Yeah.
standing there, often in the rain, 3 months of nothing, and just making his stand. And now, like, here we are a year later. Well, a year later in the UK. It was the summer before that Brady got going.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's what, kicked it all off. Just one man standing for truth and freedom in his park. And yeah, this is where we are now.
It's really empowering that. And if anybody's, listening, if you've ever heard that one person can't make a difference, it's absolutely that's bullshit. It's so untrue. It's just the opposite of what is actually true.
Exactly.
One person can make such a huge difference, and then if they get a good team behind them and have a good idea, then they can transform the entire world. So what do you see? What do you see for the future of a stand in a park? Are you just going to take over the entire planet? Is there going to be
Oh,
stands
yeah,
every Sunday, every park, every country?
that would be good, wouldn't it? If we had literally
Yeah.
every park on the planet. We're just keeping what we're doing. There's no, you know, there's never been like any real plan to any of this. I don't think you can, you know, because it is genuinely a people's movement. If it's even a movement, it's more just a collective. So it's growing organically, it's doing its thing, it's kind of got its own life now. All the stands are all evolving, they've become different things for different people. I'm very much kind of about getting communities growing again,
Yeah.
genuine community. Because we don't know what's down the road for us. The most important thing is that we're together, and that's kind of, you know, the focal point really for me, is that you're empowered individually to make your stand, and you've also got that support network and those connections and that community that you're part of as well. So I guess it's kind of, if there was any plan at all, it is kind of seeing, I think Brady's talked about this a lot, where you kind of visualize this mesh almost of we're all over the place but we're connected.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, because I remember that was something that struck me about a stand in the park, and some of Brady's philosophies and your guys' philosophies was, it's quite a spiritual thing in a way. We're standing here in our power, and that's why it says at this time, and it's obviously, yeah, it's I think that's probably what draws in a certain kind of crowd, which is just what's needed, because it's often like, how do you meet these like-minded people? I mean, you can go to the protest, but people travel a long period of time to get there, and they're only once a month or once every, well, you know, so then it's like, you know, just trying to find like-minded individuals. And now it's like it's almost become, I think I tell anyone about it who's awake and they haven't, you know, just like, hey, have you tried your local stand yet? There's one here, and there's always one somewhere. And it's like, oh, I'm going to go to a new place, I'm going to go check out the local stand. So it's really become this hub, that's really quite awesome. And you said that some of them have started to evolve. Can you talk, what do you mean like that? What do you mean about
Well,
that?
it's I guess because, you know, you've got all different, obviously all different people going. Stands vary a lot. So some you've got really active, you know, activist minded. So, you know, from in the beginning, it was just getting to know people, and it was just, yeah, you meet on the Sunday and you chat, you know, and so on and so forth. But then as time has gone on, you've had people getting, it's like, okay, so we're meeting in the park, now what?
Mm.
And that's what's been happening. So for some, you know, they're out in the community letting people know, well, that we exist, but also what's going on. Like Rebels and Roundabouts, that sprung from a stand in the park. It was like, okay, what are we going to do? And all these other kind of placard groups and things like that. You've had people getting to the protests that had never been to a protest even before in their life. We've got people setting up all kinds of community initiatives.
Oh yeah, do you know which
There's
kind
just
of
so
community
much going
initiatives?
on. Well, there's, you know, people are growing food together. You've got people clubbing together to buy land, to
Yeah,
move
right.
and go off grid. Yeah, I mean, oh, there's just endless. So, and to be honest, half of the things that are going on out there, I don't hear about. You know, it's not everyone lives their life online. Not everybody's kind of putting out there, but I hear things, and some people do get in touch to tell me. So I hear that, you know, people have been, yeah, they've been doing all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of activism going on that I won't really go into,
Mm-hmm.
you know, put it out there.
Yeah.
But people are doing a lot of stuff. They're doing a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of, you know, serving of notices of liability and legal things, you know, where people have got together and pooled their skills, you know, and they're making a lot of waves in their communities in a really positive way. So that's kind of how it's evolved, you know, from just
awesome.
When people were saying, oh, you're just standing in a park, what's that doing? Well, aside from when we did first start, it was I'm making a stand because we've been told we're not allowed to go to a park and meet people and literally be in a group together. So we
Yeah, that
were,
was rebellion at that point. Yeah.
it was like a really rebellious thing to be doing. And then of course that changed. So those restrictions eased, and then people were just kind of, oh, well, what are you doing standing apart? But this is what has grown from it. So
That's really
yeah.
inspiring, because it's like it's all well and good the activist mindset of, you know, fighting back and, you know, countering what the government's doing, but also alongside that, we need to be creating what it is we want in this world. We need to be putting energy towards what it is we want to see, and just to hear about people growing food locally and getting together to do that, but then also coming together to buy land to go off grid. That's really, really inspiring, and I imagine there are loads of people doing that all around the world, because of our current system is just failing us in so many ways. So people are looking to alternatives, and stand in the parks playing what seems like a very crucial role in actually that sort of transition, that development, that evolution from people being so dependent on this current system. So that's just very inspiring. So what do you think about the future here in the UK? I mean, you're an optimist. Do you think we're gonna maybe, I don't know if we have to take the bad guys down, but maybe get so empowered that we don't need them, or what do you think?
That's probably more my view. That I think the taking down will happen when we've realised how powerful we are and that we don't need these people. It doesn't have to come to some big war, or, you know, I do think there are some very tough times ahead, and it's not that I'm being pessimistic or negative, but I do think we've got to understand what these, you know, this evil is here, how long it's been here, and how much of a fight it's going to put up to remain, to cling on to the power that it's had over us. So I do think there could be some rocky times ahead, and that will be tested, because it's all about fear. If people weren't in a state of fear, none of this could happen. So,
Yes.
but I do think, you know, it's the Great Awakening, whatever you want to call it, is happening. It is a thing. There's no stopping it. It doesn't matter what they try, there is no possibility that they can get what they want, that they can win, because we are, well, I don't know if you want to call it like the divine spark, or, you know, what we are in essence. It cannot be extinguished, which is what they're trying for, the impossible. And we're rising up and rising up, but it's always going to be quite tumultuous, and I think appearances can be quite scary, but in the end, I was talking about this the other day, it's down to us as individuals to realize, to transcend that fear and realize the power rests within us. And when we're doing that and it's happening en masse, then, you know, that it's over. The game is over.
Absolutely right. And again, it sort of starts with the individual making that choice, and then working on themselves, developing themselves, and then they become a force to be reckoned with. And yeah, I'd say divine spark is it's a beautiful way to put it, and it's almost what, like you say, what our enemies fear the most. And I speculate potentially. I mean, Rudolf Steiner even talked about this many years ago, that there'll be a vaccine that is trying to dislodge the human body with the soul, or and I dread to think that actually is happening, but that would kind of make sense if that's part of their agenda, like, because they're so fearful of our spiritual divine power. And I was talking to a guy in the last interview, and he touched on briefly about some psychic phenomena, and it was really quite interesting, because I personally believe as well that maybe we used to be more in touch with this stuff, but also that's like our next step in evolution could be to develop some of these extrasensory abilities. And I was thinking about telepathy, right? And imagine imagine if we had even just a bit of that, and you could detect liars. Think about politics. It'd be fucked. It'd be over, right?
It would be well, most of my adult life. You know, I've meditated. I've done every release technique known to man. Energy work. I am actually a healer.
Oh, I didn't
I
know that. That's
am,
awesome.
yeah, and a holistic counsellor, which I've not. It's all kind of been put to the side. Things that I do want to, you know, start doing again properly. But yeah, I mean, I've always been very spiritually minded, I guess you would call it.
Okay. And what's your experience been as a healer? Because that's an interesting thing to be doing for people.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've not done in a while. When you say my experience, you mean in general or during all of this, or?
So, yeah, I mean, if this was something you was doing before a stand in the park, we say, but life before a stand in the park, like,
Yeah, yeah.
how
Mhm.
how was that as a modality for you? Because that's very interesting. And you seem like, you know, from what I already know about you, it's not so much of a surprise, but it's a nice thing to actually know about someone that they used to do
Oh,
this
I've
kind of stuff.
lost you, I think.
Am I back?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, you're back. You just did like a really speeded up. You were
Okay,
back.
you can edit that bit. uh yeah, no, I was just saying, because it's like a nice surprise. In fact, there's not too much of a surprise of knowing who you are that you actually used to do that. But would you want, how did you first get into being a healer?
Um, well, I was kind of interested. My whole family's the same. We're all kind of healers and mediums
Oh wow.
and all, you know, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. We were always really, yeah, I mean, we've had all kinds of psychic phenomena, hauntings, like all of those sort of things growing up. So we were all very accustomed to all of this stuff. It was kind of a natural step. I really started developing the healing when I did a holistic counselling course. That was a 2-year diploma quite a few years ago, and it kind of really became apparent that aside from the psychic stuff, the healing, very much the hands-on healing was a real strength.
Uh-huh.
It's funny. It's something that I used to just naturally do when I was a kid. I would find myself sending out healing if someone was hurt, or it was kind of an
Oh, nice.
intentional thing. Yeah, it's funny. Like a lot of these things start in childhood, and I think many of us, they just kind of get buried, or you don't pursue, you forget about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was always kind of something. I always had that intention for healing people. But then, yeah, when I started actually kind of learning more about it, it just developed more and more. And it's just, yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. To give someone a healing session, it's like it's a treat for me as well,
You get healed at
because
the same
it's
time, huh?
you do, because it's not really, I can't say that it's me doing it. Obviously you have to be very careful about channeling things and stuff like that, but so you're very stringent around what you're actually doing. But it's just it's one of my favorite things, actually. I do miss it, and I love receiving it as well
Uh-huh.
from other people. But
Do you think that's something you could get back into?
yeah, I hope to. I'm just so busy with the stands and everything. It's just trying to kind of make that time, but I am more drawn to, I think you put a post or something out yourself recently about going more within and doing that kind of the spiritual work that you need to, which is
Yes,
absolutely, well, it's the most important thing, to be
I'd agree,
honest.
actually. Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in, the nuts and bolts of doing all of this stuff. But I am feeling the same way. I must dedicate more time to that and get more and more grounded and rooted in who I am, because we've got this fear being chucked at us daily, and we're living in insane times. You know, just the fact that we're going out and there are people with masks covering their faces is madness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's it. And this is looking like it's, I mean, a lot of, thankfully here in England, a lot of the COVID measures seem to be going away, and we can pat ourselves on the back in the activist movement, but it's not like the fight's over. But then it's definitely, I guess the past 2 years has been a bit of a high paced run, but it's definitely a marathon and not a sprint, right? So we're going to have to take periods of time or incorporate it into our daily routines. Even I'm just starting to again get into some routines again that I've been pushed to the side, and to just like the more we work on ourselves, the better in a position we are to actually be an activist. I think it's sort of can help our activists, and there's a good perspective to give to people, you know, because I see it quite often in activism. It's just always external. It's always like focusing on the outside and what's happening out there. But, you know, if you're no good in here, then, you know, it's no good anywhere. Yeah. Is there anything more that you've got coming up in the pipeline, or anything more, any thoughts on where we're going? Anything else you'd like to share?
I mean, there's always stuff rolling along. I mean, I guess for the stands, it's continuing along, trying to get people together and empowered as much as possible, getting the word out more across Europe and the rest of the world. I think it feels like we're kind of in preparation mode for whatever's coming next. And we don't really know what that is. We can't trust that these rollbacks over here will remain. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, we're having to sort of roll with the punches, really, aren't we? I mean, I've always got, all of us, you know, that work on a stand-up part, I've always got things in mind. We're working on the website, actually. That's probably the biggest thing, is that because of the ridiculous levels of online censorship and control, very secure for a start, and just that we've got a place where people can go. With the social media is just, you know, the mainstream social media is just becoming impossible.
So you're on about the 4th Stand in the Park group now, right?
Yeah, and even that one, every couple of weeks. I mean, they've calmed down a bit lately. At one point, it was basically every week it was being disabled, and then it would come back up again eventually. It's crazy, really.
Been lovely to chat with you again, Fee, and we're, like to say, we're nearly a year to the day of your anniversary, and there's a party, right?
Yeah, so we've got Down for Freedom coming down to the St Albans stand. It's on the 20th. So anyone who can make it down, who wants to come and celebrate with us, like a year of standing, then come down and see us. It's Verulamium Park in St Albans. So we'll be there from 10 as usual, but Down for Freedom arrive about 11:30, and we'll have some music and food and stuff. So
Brilliant, sounds good. I might even get down there myself.
Oh, it'd be great. It'd be lovely to see you. Yeah,
likewise. Okay, cheers, Fee. Well, then here's to another year or decade of a Stand in the Park.